One of the moments that we learnt or that we experienced during this course was we had a presentation from some of the old boys of the Kinship Boys Home, which was a mission that was set up for where Aboriginal children, boys, were taken from their families and they were kept in quite awful, kind of traumatizing conditions as part of, I guess, the government's projects of how they thought they should be educated. And hearing the experiences of people who lived through that, it's quite distressing. There's a lot of very confronting moments. And I think it's something that, as difficult as it might be, it's something you have to confront and you have to think about, this is part of our history. This is what has happened in our country. And if we're going to move forward and address this, we really have to know what's going on and think about what we can do to ensure that doesn't happen again and kind of change that.
So the Kinship Boys Home was definitely personally confronting to me. However, it's opened up my insights as to why things may be the way they are today, especially with the younger generations. As a teacher, a lot of teachers these days do talk about why students might not be turning up to school or why there may be troubled things happening at home, and definitely listening to the uncles in the Kinship Boys Home sessions really did open my insights as to possibilities of why younger generations these days might be experiencing trauma or just difficult experiences today themselves.
So my favourite my favourite resource to use with the kids, we're doing a Truth in the Media unit for our Year 10s, which is a really great unit. It's all about fake news. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very relevant. And my favourite text that we'll use is this SBS interactive documentary called Gari. It's about debunking the story of Eliza Fraser, who came to Australia and kind of misrepresented absolutely everything about the Aboriginal people in Gari, so much so that it was taken back to England that they were the savages here and they treated her horribly, and now we still know Fraser Island and named after her, and only recently, in my understanding, it's actually going back to its original name of Gari, which is incredible. So I love teaching this, and I've found success in teaching this to my absolute top our gifted and talented students and our low mixed ability, Year 10 students who have no interest in doing high school after this year. They don't even want to be here right now. This text is so engaging for all of them. I think because they can see the relevance of it, and they know Fraser Island. They've probably been there. So in any way that I can, I really find that I'm trying to connect the kids to Aboriginal histories, because it's incredible and we're so lucky to live in the country with one of the oldest cultures in the world.
So I just finished my final internship for this degree, and during the internship we had the opportunity we were encouraged to create some lessons that drew on our learning from country experience. And so for me as a French and German teacher, where there's not a lot of explicit content in those curriculums that relates to Aboriginal perspectives or the lives of Aboriginal people, it is challenging to kind of work out how you're going to incorporate that. But I think where I found really useful lessons that I could take from learning from country and really key ways that you could make connections is in terms of thinking about language, culture, and identity. And really, that is at the heart of why you would learn another language. And it's also in a lot of ways at the heart of the relationships from learning from country. So for me, that involved thinking about, what students knew about their local area and the places that they live, and then thinking about what they knew about, for example, Germany. And on a very baseline level, looking at how we can compare the diversity of languages and cultures in these two countries. Wherever you go, there's not just one singular culture or one singular group of people who lives in any place. There's such a wide diversity of language groups, cultural groups, identities that are so unique to every location. And I think it really helps the students to see that, while we're looking very far abroad at what's going on in Germany, there's so much diversity happening in Australia as well. And, in the community they live, around the school, there was so much to experience that they maybe didn't know was there before. So for us, that included also, going for a walk around the school, seeing what the landscape used to be like before the school was built, having the chance to get outside the classroom and, see what's going on in the community and actually learn about all these connections to the local environment and the community. And I think it's so important, no matter where you are, you have to know the place that you're living on or the place that you're working on. You have to see, that it's not just this built environment, that there's a living culture beneath that as well.
I work out in Western Sydney. I work on Darug land, and I've found that integrating a local perspective in my English lessons through that Aboriginal perspective has been super engaging for students. So we do a heroes unit in year 7. It's a really fun way to kick off the year. And, we go through superheroes, and then we do kind of our regular heroes that we'd sort of had in the program before, for the kids who are a bit more engaged. Ned Kelly's a hero or a criminal, but I took a look at that and thought we can do a bit better here. And I decided to look at Pemulwuy as a historical figure and as a hero. And so the students loved it because we could look at a map and they're like, oh, my house is there now, right where he was running his rebellion all those years ago, right where he was engaging in this, these cross-cultural experiences all those years ago. So I decided to embed this Aboriginal history and this story of this Aboriginal person, not because the curriculum said I had to use Aboriginal content in that lesson, but because it's part of all our content that we do. It's part of all our curriculum areas. And so by looking at local histories, I was able to then engage the students. They recognized the places. They were really interested in what, Blacktown and Toongabbie used to look like. And through that, they were able to gain a better understanding of shared history and Aboriginal history. And they were really engaged in those lessons because of that. Like I said before, I think one of the most important things is that every teacher is a teacher of Aboriginal histories and cultures at school. And so it's important that we squeeze it in where we can and we feel confident in doing so. And the local community and local histories are a really good start to that.
I had a year 7 boy last year. He came up to me at the end of our very first history lesson and he goes, "Miss, do we do Aboriginal history in year 7? And I said to him, "No, we don't, and I think we should. And I'm actually going to raise that, but out of curiosity, why are you asking me that?" And he was like, "Oh, I just really love it. Like, I love it and I want to know more." And the same week, his older brother, who's in year 10, came up to me in commerce and said, "I noticed that we do an Indigenous section of our commerce business topic." And I was like, "Oh, it's interesting you mentioned this. Your brother said the same thing to me." And so on parent-teacher night, I pulled the parents aside, and they're an Islamic family. And I said to them, "Why are your boys so interested in this? It's so refreshing to hear." And they said, "Well, they should be, because we're migrants to this country and we think it's our responsibility to learn the history of this country. And this is the history of this country. It's the majority of our history. And we really want our boys to engage with that." And I was like, yes, I was astounded. And it's so different from the stuff I've been hearing from a lot of other parents who will question why we're doing it so much, they say. But yeah, I think there is definitely a shift, especially in migrant families, towards understanding our whole history. One of the things that's really led to that shift is my year 11s have just completely embraced the subject, and they love it so much that they've made a TikTok account where they show what we're doing in class. One of the very first things we did was decorate our folders with Rachel Sarah, who's an Indigenous artist, her artwork. And one of the first things I did was bring them here to the university on an excursion to the Chow Chakwing Museum, and we did a tour led by Uncle Jimmy, and he showed them around the exhibition, but then he also took them outside of the museum and we walked around the campus a bit, and not only were they like, "Wow, this place is like Hogwarts," they were also like, "Wow, we didn't think Aboriginal perspectives would be here at the university." And I think it just was so eye-opening, and for them to capture all that on TikTok and share it with our student body, it really was a moment of like, wow, Aboriginal studies is really cool and something we want to do, and it's relevant, and it's linked to universities, and it just is like a legitimate thing that we can do here at our school. And I think that shift towards being excited when it's an Aboriginal perspective lesson and not groaning about it is really something that has come out of having me on campus teaching it, and also now new teachers coming in that want to do the training and want to teach it as well.